welcome to Adaptation, where we talk about film adaptations and the original material they're based on. I'm Kendall Bryant, and in the month of May, we are all about superheroes. Avengers Age of Ultron came out yesterday, and all of our superhero shows are ending, so we knew we were going to be talking about them a lot on the podcast and on our blog. So we figured, why not make it a trifecta and do an entire month of superhero-y goodness on the vlog as well. Specifically this week, I'm going to be listing off some of the more interesting ways that comic characters have been inspired by other people, be they real or fiction. Let's start things off with Batman, who made his first appearance in 1939 and was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Batman owes his wealthy and somewhat listless alter ego to the character of Zorro, particularly that from the Mark of Zorro in 1920. And in some ways, he also kind of owes his man pain to him, since in a lot of versions, that is the movie that the Waynes are walking home from when the inevitable happens. But apart from that sadness, now that I've said it, you totally see it, right? I mean, they both fight corruption, they both have the ominously dark outfit. Zorro leaves his mark with a Z, while Batman makes everything that he owns shaped like a bat. And speaking of all of that bat iconography, that was actually also inspired by a 1930s film called The Bat Whispers. And speaking of really obvious costume choices, how about Green Arrow and Robin Hood? Yeah, that's not even subtle. But in addition to the matching outfits, they're both excellent archers and defenders of the downtrodden. Green Arrow made his first appearance in 1941 after being created by Mort Weisinger and George Papp. And in addition to the really obvious Robin Hood motif he's got going on, he was also inspired by a book called The Green Archer by Edgar Wallace, and a little bit by our very own Batman. Although instead of the utility belt, he just has trick arrows and a little bit more of a Robin of Locksley-esque personality, without the English accent. Now this next one might be a little surprising. I mean, I'm sure that you would never in a million years guess that this guy was based on something else, but I'm here to tell you that your beloved Thor is actually a character from Norse mythology. I know, you're shocked, right? Thor was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby when they were trying to come up with a character that could beat the Hulk. But as Lee put it, how do you make someone stronger than the strongest person? Don't make him human, make him a god. He then rightly assumed that we were all way too familiar with Greek and Roman gods, so he headed into Norse mythology. And in 1962, enter Thor, god of thunder, his hammer, his father Odin, and his not-so-biological brother turned nemesis Loki, the Norse trickster god. Moving into the real world for a minute, Tony Stark can give thanks for his genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist persona to none other than Howard Hughes. Flying onto the scene in 1963, Tony was Hughes to a T, from being a reclusive inventor and defense contractor to his desire to fly. Created by Stan Lee and Don Heck during the Cold War, the character's story is filled with themes about having control over his own inventions, particularly when those inventions are weapons. The last two characters I want to mention dig into even deeper themes, like the duality of human nature and the struggle between good and evil. Do you see where I'm going with this yet? You're thinking of one of two characters, and let me tell you, they're both correct. Marvel's The Hulk and DC's Two-Face were both inspired by Robert Louis Stevenson's The Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The Hulk was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in 1962, and he has a little bit of Frankenstein inspiration thrown in for good measure. The parallels are pretty obvious. He's both Bruce Banner and the Hulk, two personalities in one body. One who deworms orphans in Somalia, and the other who breaks Harlem. Bob Kane and Bill Finger made Two-Face's duality a bit more obvious during his creation in 1942. But if you're only looking at his character design, you're missing the real depth of it, which comes from his backstory as stand-up District Attorney Harvey Dent, before he turned into a supervillain that made all of his decisions based on the flip of a coin. But unfortunately, that's about all of the comic character creation stories I have for you this time. If I missed an interesting one, make sure that you let me know in the comments, and of course, subscribe for the rest of our superhero month. Also, make sure that you check out our website and our podcast, because we're going to be talking about a lot of other superhero stuff over there. Until next time, let's draw up plans to make our favorite fictional characters into superheroes.